Afternoon and welcome back to the podcast. After two consecutive losses in a row, Ollie and his men have to look forward to an FA Cup fixture, which in all honesty looks like a pretty straightforward and simple. I know nothing's straightforward and simple with Manchester United nowadays, but when you're playing a side that's not even in the Premier League and really hasn't done well against lesser teams in the last five, I think they've lost two, drawn two, and only picked up one win in the last five. So I think this is it's a done deal for Manchester United.
Hmm.
Lifting the Europa League does not look like it's gonna happen with the lack of squad depth that's going on at the moment, and the Carabao Cup is virtually over unless a miracle happens. So the FA Cup is all Manchester United realistically have a shot at, and it's against a team that they should beat, even with this paper thin team. Now, before we get to that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference was very, very, very interesting. I think there were some really good questions that were asked at that press conference, and for me, I'm actually disappointed because I think this was a chance for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to actually redeem himself and direct some of the blame where it rightfully belongs. But I'm not sure he has. The first one of the first questions that popped out to me was when he was asked about transfers. He basically said, and I quote, "We know that we need to strengthen. We know that we have to strengthen. We know that some of these players we let them go because we have to start afresh and we have to clear out the club. We have a clear sight and a clear target on what is in front of us, and that's why we need a certain type of player." Now, that's not convincing to me because that's a really Ole Gunnar Solskjaer type of response. It's got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer written all over it. He hasn't, so he's in a way taken accountability for a problem. He's given a cliche one-liner to solve that problem, but he hasn't actually given a solution and he hasn't actually properly answered the question. The question
Mm.
wasn't, do you know whether or not you need
Yeah.
transfers or not? We all know, even you know we need transfers. You didn't need to say that. What you needed
Yeah.
to say was, yes, we're looking very hard. We're looking very hard at finding players, and it's up to the club. He could have said it's up to the club to negotiate.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, so I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that.
I mean, I'm not surprised anymore. I think everyone, all the fans know the problems at Manchester United.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm just not surprised. I don't. I always said I don't expect Oli. I don't think Oli deserves this job. I don't think he should be in the job. But yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't even get really angry at it anymore. I just expect it, and nothing will change until things just generally change around the club.
Yeah. Man's a bit delusional, eh? Because the first time he did that, I also asked him why can't we spend? Why? And he didn't
Yeah.
answer why. He just gave some bullshit about us doing things differently and compared us to Liverpool. Like he really
Yeah,
trusted
so
Wood.
he
And
actually he
for
was asked
his
about
sake,
yeah. Sorry for
for
cutting you off.
his sake, I really hope Ed Woodward and the Glazer will deliver, which we all know they won't. So yeah, I'm worried for Oli.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as saying that we know they won't. As inept as this board is, they have spent money in the past. Whether you like that or not, it's a fact, um, an undeniable fact at that. I think the biggest problem for Manchester United hasn't been spending money in the last few years. I think it's been spending money in the wrong areas. I think Rio Ferdinand hit it hammer on the head perfectly. This club has spent money in the wrong areas. And I think as a result of that, instead of actually analyzing why their transfers went wrong, they just assumed that taking risks was no longer an option and they need to work with what they have. Um, I think that the comparison to Jurgen Klopp is a bit foolish. I really do. I think he's been briefed by someone because I heard the club recently hired someone to try help Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with the
Yeah,
media
Neil.
stuff because he's clearly bad at it. Yeah. I think he compared himself to Klopp when he was asked about his plan and a very clear lack of evidence of a plan going forward. I think he first said that Burnley result wasn't a true reflection of these lads. These lads are fantastic, and you expect these kinds of results. Blah 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 blah. I'm not going to get into it, but when he started comparing himself to Klopp, I think that was a way of him saying, "Yeah, but look at Jurgen. Look at how long it's taken him to get to where he is." I think that's foolish because Jurgen Klopp played an established and recognizable brand of football that got him success with Borussia Dortmund elsewhere. So if you're going to compare yourself to Jurgen Klopp, the reason why Jurgen Klopp was backed is because there's evidence of exceptional ability and exceptional talent in the past. So therefore, you can see why a board like, especially like Liverpool's board, would do everything they can to back a manager like that because they've seen his play style work elsewhere. With Ole, it's just covering paper cracks now because this playing style of his hasn't worked anywhere else, and it's not working at Manchester United. And so for him to say that he's not going to change his plan and he's going to stick with it, and his proof or his reasoning rather, or his way of validating that is comparing himself to Klopp, for me is really disappointing. It really is.
Yeah.
I genuinely think
no.
it was an opportunity for him to come on and be like, look, guys, my hands are tied. It's up to the club now to get the players I need to play in my playing style. And he didn't.
The press really did give him the opportunity today, and he didn't take it. And Ole understands it. I mean, Ole understands football. Ole understands there's so many factors in Jurgen Klopp being so successful. Ole understands what the problem is at Manchester United. He knows more than any of us. But yeah, he has this idea of working together, and that the only way to fix this club is if he sticks by these corrupt people. And
you know what I think it is. I don't think it's that completely. I think he's starting to get scared of his job because if you actually look closely enough, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's answers have started to change a little bit. He's still Mr. Positive, don't get me wrong, but his answers are not even answers anymore. He's dodging questions in press conferences, especially questions that are directed or that might expose the club. He genuinely is, and I think he's doing it to protect his job. I think he knows that if he just tells the truth, he's out, because that's what happens at Manchester United. When you tell the truth, you get the captain's arm stripped off you. When you tell the truth, even after winning an FA Cup, you get sacked. When you tell the truth after winning Europa League, you get sacked. So, I think he's looking out for himself. And that brings me on to another issue. Do you think he's starting to lose the dressing room? Because there's sources coming out saying that there's massive unrest in the dressing room at the moment.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that because, also in today's press conference, he was asked, your style of football and the way you play, are you going to change it? And he said, basically, listen, I've got a plan. I've been backed with my plan. I'm not going to change it. And I was just thinking,
compared himself to Klopp.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, how foolish is that? Your plan is clearly not working. It never works. But I wouldn't say never, but it most of the time it doesn't work. The board has now legit came out and said they'll back you till who knows how long. And they've given you time. He's very lucky. And, he needs to change. He can't be stubborn and not change. It's just simple. It's just simple. And for me, it's just so foolish. And I think that's why also the players are like, oh, I can't take this guy seriously. He's my manager and he's basically a clown. And the players are not dumb. Fans are not dumb also. We can all see that this is not working.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think players aren't foolish. They're starting to see the pattern. We're doing the same thing over and over again. Sometimes we try to hold the ball, but it never really works. It never really comes together. We counter sometimes. It doesn't really work against a certain type of team. It works by chance in a certain type of team. And they can really start to see that this guy's out of his depth. Doesn't know what he's doing. Players are always getting overplayed. Players are injured. So that will, no matter how much the players love you, eventually that will lead to them starting to question if you really know what you're doing. And yeah, I agree. If he wants to keep his job, he has to change something. He really has to change something.
In the last few weeks, I've actually started to believe that the problem isn't the system, but it's a combination of bad decision making and a lack of squad depth, to be honest with you. And I'll explain why. Remember when Mourinho was here and we were talking off air about, a while ago, it was me and you, Reta. I said, I don't like Jose Mourinho. If there's one thing I don't like about Jose Mourinho, I was a massive fan of Jose Mourinho up until he got sacked at Manchester United. One thing I hated about Jose Mourinho was he basically sounded like a crybaby to me in the press conferences, because I think the world's best managers know how to work with what they have and get the best out of what they have until a point comes where they have what they need to play the playing style that they want to play. So the reason why I bring this up and the reason why this is relevant is because if you look at Mourinho, he was basically saying, I don't have the players, I don't have the players, I don't have the players, therefore I can't play this playing style. Well, fucking no shit, Sherlock, then just change the system. Just change the system. I know it's not that easy, but just change the system. And I think the same thing is happening with Ole. I don't think there's anything massively wrong with counter-attacking football. I think counter-attacking football can work. I don't think it should be your plan A, and I don't think it should be your main philosophy. But Fergie won a lot of things by playing counter-attacking football against some of the best teams in the world. And so I think there's nothing wrong counter-attacking football. I think the problem is it's not working in this current climate with these current players. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to find a temporary solution, or he needs to start experimenting. It doesn't even have to be a big, massive solution that's going to go make us, give us a new vision. He needs to start experimenting and trying things that we haven't seen. Because even if we lose, I think the general consensus amongst people who are Ole out is at least we'll see a vision or we'll see a plan. And I think that's the problem with Ole. Like, he's being stubborn.
I think
You can stick by a plan all you want. If you don't have the players for it, and you're just going to get fired. You're going to get fired.
Yeah, no,
It's
like
happened to everyone.
I agree with what you said. There's that, counter-attacking, it can work and it still does work.
It just
But
doesn't work in this team right now.
but when people also, when other teams know that's your only plan and that's the only way you play, you get found out, and that's when you need to change something. And then if you
That's
change
why
it,
it
it
shouldn't be
works,
your plan.
and then you get found out again. You can change it up again. You see Jurgen make also like 2-3 decisions in a game, especially against Wolves yesterday. He had Mane injured, he switched it up. You've
You've got to have
we went down,
improvisation,
he
and
switched
you've
it
got to
up.
evolve.
Yeah, but yeah, you gotta evolve. And I just don't think Oli
I think
adapts, changes that well. But I think that's also based on the lack of experience he has.
Yeah.
he's not the most tactical. I feel like with Jose Mourinho as well. Like, I used to wonder Jose Mourinho. He was the park the bus guy, and he was the Jose masterclass guy. And I used to wonder, why doesn't he lean to the other side more and try to be more tactical in a situation that United were in? Because I think counter-attacking football works, but then it can't be your main MO. It was never Sir Alex Ferguson's main thing. He would do it in big games where he had to, but then over the course of the season, you have to find a more productive style that can create more chances. And then
That's what I was saying. I don't think it should be your plan A.
Yeah. With that, I think he lacks that. He's just out of his depth. I feel like he just doesn't know what else to do. And as scary as that is, I think that is the case.
Yeah, it's not only Oli. You can see this example many places all over the world. Like, there's lots of managers who there may not be many managers like Mourinho who are vocal about it, but there's lots of managers who stick to one playing style, and that's their playing style forever. And it's like, if you don't adapt, you will perish. If you don't find a way of evolving, you will perish. And yeah, I don't think counter-attacking football works as a philosophy, because counter-attacking is a very circumstantial thing. You need two things to happen for a counter-attack. You need the other team to be in the ball, and you need them to be running at you so that you can take the ball and exploit them from behind. If teams just sit back, they've broken down your main philosophy, and it's just not good enough. So
I feel like playing such a lopsided playing style, you're asking for trouble, because people are going to find that out, and then what are you going to do? So it needs to be balanced out. You need to just play football. Like, that's just an aspect of football. Good teams just play football, and they're all rounded in their tactics.
Yeah, it's interesting. Another thing that stood out to me in the press conference is I never thought journalists would actually have the balls to ask these sorts of questions, but they asked him about the set plays and how big of a part set plays have played in Manchester United losing games, both on the offensive and the defense, by the way. And again, it's this idea of turning a negative situation into a positive, where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came out and said, he acknowledged responsibility that the set plays were something that they needed to work on, but he didn't give a solution. And then he furthermore went on to say that it's a common thing in football. And I was like, not really, actually. Set plays only make up 5-10% of the game. Like, when you watch a game of football, 30% of it is not watching corners. I completely disagree with that, because that's basically saying for 25 or 20 minutes, because I think that's like around the 30% region of what a 90-minute game is. He's basically saying for 20% of the game or 30% of the game, you're watching people take set plays. And he's basically saying that 30% of, I don't know who he was generalizing when he said most teams, that it's a common thing. He was saying 30% of people's goals do get conceded from set plays. And that's not true. That's a United thing. I don't think City concede that many goals from corners.
We've conceded the most goals in the league from corners.
Yeah, and I don't think you can make that massive generalization. Again, it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just... I mean, at least he took accountability for it, but he didn't give a solution. He didn't say this is something we're working on. He just said this is something we need to work on. It's something in the future.
I just think he just doesn't have a solution. And, like I said, like we all said, he's protecting his job. He's trying to dodge the hard-hitting questions. And I just, I honestly don't believe all he does is knows another way and how to score set pieces, how to defend set pieces. I just like this guy's
I don't think
tactics is
the
very
thing
much.
is, I think when you make these when you talk about these sorts of things, you have to be very careful because at the end of the day, set pieces isn't something that's not the manager's job necessarily. Yes, everything that happens as a football club, you will directly blame or indirectly blame the manager because he oversees everything, right? But I think we have to look at. I'm not sure if it's McKenna, Phelan, or Carrick, but one of them blokes, they should be the ones doing stuff like set plays,
Yeah, the
That's
all that
fair.
sort of
coach.
thing. That's
It's the
their
coaches,
job.
That's
man.
fair.
The coaching
Yeah,
is very cool.
But
and
when it is
I
such a
think
big
that is true.
problem, it becomes the manager's problem. You need to
Yeah,
go take
obviously,
responsibility. Like
obviously.
if he believes so much that it's such a big part of the game, then why aren't you working on it? Like what's going on? It's a
Yeah,
problem. It's hindering you from doing
Yeah.
well.
Ollie
And what
should be
part of
going to
this?
Carrick and Phelan and be like,
I
fix it.
mean, I mean, that's just
He probably is
ridiculous.
saying that, and Callan and Phelan probably don't know what to do. So everybody's just like, oh, well, I don't know. We're working on it. That's probably what's happening. No lie. And honestly speaking, who do you go and hire for set pieces as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when your main headache is transfers? What do you do? I'm not defending Ole, by the way. I'm just saying, who do you go and hire? It's not as simple as coming up with a solution quick, fast. It's a combination of working with the players, working with your coaching, and I just think the coaching staff as a whole aren't experienced enough,
I
and the
get that.
players themselves aren't taking responsibility. That's what I think is happening, and
And
ultimately it's
that's
just failing.
that's true. But I get that.
Because some
And
things are
I
individual.
think
Some things are individual. Like Lindelof not heading the ball, that's individual. That's not coaching. De
I'm not
Gea
fair.
being weak, that's not coaching. That's De Gea's fault. Maguire
Mm,
staring into space, that's Maguire's problem, not coaching. You know.
mm.
But yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I think it goes back to experimenting, as you said, because there's only so much Ole can do. He isn't. He does have two hands tied behind his back, but like he needs to work, get the most out of what he can do, and he's not helping himself by playing one playing style over and over and over again. So
Yeah.
I kind of do blame him because I feel like he needs to be more hands on with these things, and I feel like he's not.
I agree
Well,
also,
yeah,
but like
you've got to blame him.
like just like Marcus was saying, like the coaches are to blame, and they just don't know how to fix it. But
Everyone's
I
to
just
blame.
think I just think it can be simple. Like just for an example, like against Liverpool and against Burnley, like we like zonal marking, yeah. But then is it that hard just to say don't zonal mark, man mark everyone? Maguire, you the strongest in there, so be on Van Dijk against Liverpool. Maguire, you the strongest in there, be on Chris Wood against Burnley.
It's probably not that hard, but you have to understand that zonal marking is a system that's worked in very top teams. Like zonal marking isn't the problem. The problem is that our players don't know how to do zonal marking correctly. That's the problem. Everybody who looks at zonal marking and is like, "Oh, it's zonal mark." No, it's not zonal mark. Zonal marking is there for a reason. Teams use zonal marking for a reason. When you man mark, it's very predictable and it becomes very scuffed in the middle sometimes. Players are able to make runs that are very unpredictable. If you zone a mark, you cut that out completely. Because when you zone a marking, you're basically saying, okay, run at me then. Let's see you. Are you going to try run behind me? You can't run behind me because I'm standing in front of you and I'm waiting for you to come. That's the whole point of zone marking. You mark the zone and the space so that the player cannot use that to his advantage and try get in behind you. So the problem isn't zonal marking. The problem is a combination of probably zonal marking not being taught correctly, not being drilled correctly, and these players not knowing how to play it. So you can't say, well, the solution is just tell Harry Maguire to stand next to Van Dijk. No, like it's not that simple. I'm sorry, it's not that simple. Like football is not that simple. And I'm not defending Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think he is in the wrong, but I think you've got to look at the whole team and not just blame Ole for every little thing that might not have anything to do with him. Because defensively, that's why teams have defensive coaches, they have attacking coaches, and they have coaches who work in the middle. And I'm sure that's Carrick's job because he was a midfielder probably. And I think, what do you do? What do you do?
I feel like
It's like,
with the whole marking thing, I feel like he needs to teach a combination of the zonal and the man marking, which is what the best
possibly
teams do, because you can't lean to one side. It just doesn't work.
it
And
has to be both.
like the
It has to be
positioning,
both.
like why is Brendan Williams' zone the ones that's central? Where most of the headers are going to come through, where Matip and Van Dijk, Matip wasn't playing, but ultimately Matip and Van Dijk are going to be standing. And if
Yeah.
we make a mistake, switch positions. Don't put him there again. That's not hard to tell.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's for me that comes down to leadership though. That's not that you can't So for me, you can't just automatically assume that that's coaching. Like you can't automatically assume that Carrick was like, "Oh, this makes sense. Let's put
No, I get
Brandon
that.
Williams on the tallest Liverpool player. Brandon
I
Williams
get
go."
that.
No, I don't think that's what actually happened.
I get that.
I think that's a
Definitely
leadership
not.
problem. I
Definitely
think
not.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
we
gonna
have a big
say,
leadership problem in our club. So after that happens, Ole should come out of his chair, get up, and tell the players. He must tell them.
yeah, definitely,
We made that mistake
definitely.
again after they scored. I saw it a couple of times again.
Yeah, he actually was asked about the leadership thing, and again, because he's Mr. Nice Guy and he's Superman, he took the responsibility. He was asked about whether or not there's players on the field who can actually take leadership and actually make sure that people are doing their roles right and that people are getting a reaction out of the team. And again, he dodged the question, kind of. Well, he directed the blame at himself, but like, I, I, I don't get it because there's only so much you can do from the sideline as a manager during the actual 90 minutes. Like, somebody has to be like, "Hey, dog, mark him. You
Mhm.
mark him." Like, what are you doing? Somebody has to tell Brandon Williams, like, "Hey, let's
Yeah.
switch positions because, like, look who's standing next to you." And for me, you can't just assume that that's a coaching problem. Like, that
No,
makes no sense. It's
but
a
like Maguire,
combination of things.
Maguire is worse in that situation. I mean, he was captain. He was the
Yeah,
bloody captain. So like, if
Maguire
anyone
should
should
be
have
on Van
fixed
Dijk
that,
anyways.
yeah,
Like,
if anyone should
he
have fixed
should be
that,
looking
it would
on
have
Van
been.
Dijk anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's annoying because they did it for the next corner and then after it was lost again. So they're like, what's going on at this club? What honestly is going on
There's
at
no
this club?
leaders. There's no leaders. When people hear the word leadership, they think it means there's no rah-rah speeches in the dressing room. That's not what leadership is. That's part of leadership. Leadership is also on the actual field, making sure that
Yeah.
people are doing what they need to do. And I think there are no leaders in that team. I think Harry Maguire, now, I thought that him getting the captain's armband would be ironically a good thing for him, but it's not. He's struggling. He's getting burnt out because he's playing every game. And now, on top of worrying about his own game and being a professional footballer, he's got to sort of be a dad or a father figure to these kids. And it's hard because, I'm not
Like,
excusing it, but it's hard.
what
That's just a
really
fact.
screams leader Harry Maguire?
What's
Besides
that?
what's probably happening in training on the pitch, what says lead about Harry Maguire?
That's the thing. Like, personally, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't really seen anything that
It's
Maguire has
not.
done as a leader
It's
on
not
the field.
about. It's not about. So it depends what you mean. What specific aspect of leadership you're talking about, though? Like, right? Like I said last time, I don't think the captain's armband is meant for leaders. I think you can be a leader without the captain's armband. I think the captain's armband is just given to a person who is kind of like just. I think it's an ambassador's medal, as I said it a few episodes ago. And I think in terms of stature, that's what Harry Maguire's there for. He leads by example, but I don't think he's the guy to start pointing at everyone and saying, "Hey, you do this." That's where your vice captain is supposed to be useful. That's where your Pogba's and your well, we don't have that many leaders in this team, unfortunately. But that's where your guys, your side, your right hand men are supposed to help you, because the captain can't do everything. That's unrealistic. The captain does. There's very few. I can give you a few examples on one hand of captains who don't actually specifically tell people what to do. They delegate. Lionel Messi was one of them at Argentina. Mascherano used to do most of the talking. He didn't need an armband for that.
Yeah, no. I
No,
can
I
agree with
agree
you.
as well.
But
I agree as
I
well.
think with Maguire, the only thing I see that says leader is that he's hard work and he's a dedicated
Yeah, he
footballer.
leads by
Besides
example.
that,
That's
I
what
just
stature
don't
is.
see even the leading by example in terms of his gameplay. He's not playing that well, to be honest. He can't
At
take
the
care of his own.
moment, yeah.
So
At the moment,
he
yeah.
can't take.
But
Okay,
that's the idea. At the moment, he's not playing well, which is exactly what I've just said. He's struggling as a captain because he's got to work on his own game. A captain is supposed to be someone who's so good at their own game that they can help and improve people around them, and that's not happening. So if you take the armband away from Harry Maguire, and if you're against Harry Maguire being captain and you don't think he's good enough as a leader, who do you give it to? Because nobody else in this team is doing anything. Nobody's doing anything. Harry Maguire is probably the best possible choice. The one guy who might be a better choice than him is
yeah.
in the recovery room.
Both of them. Both
I think
Rashford
David
and
De Gea
Pogba.
is worth a shout, to be honest. As much as he's not amazing,
I said, yeah.
I think probably better than Maguire.
Who?
De
De
Gea.
Gea.
I agree as well.
I don't agree. I think De Gea is too silent. I haven't seen anything
True,
from him.
true. But I feel like he
De
leads by
Gea is,
example.
I've seen
80%
some
of the
things. I've
time,
seen De
he's
Gea
in
get
the
pissed, and he also pointing at people,
that's not
delegating
leadership,
roles.
though.
No, but he has delegate. That's what I'm saying. He has pointed
Oh,
at
okay,
people,
the delegating
delegating.
part, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
I've seen
suppose.
fire in De Gea. I've seen delegation in De Gea. I think I feel like it felt like when he had the captain's armband, he looked like
Yeah.
And when he came
I
out of the
disagree.
press
I think
conference and he said what he said, I was like, this is the captain, this is United, and then he got stripped because of what he said, and then
yeah,
it
I
just
disagree.
hasn't
I
been the
think he's
same.
just too introverted, man. I personally think he's just too introverted. It's as I've said many times, and we spoke about this a few podcasts ago. I don't know which episode it was. Like, unless you actually evoke emotion out of your players, then your fire and you raising your fist and pointing your finger means nothing. I've seen De Gea yell at the players and then still go on and concede more goals, and it does nothing. I've seen that. So, like, yeah, he might be like McTominay, where he raises his fist and he's like, "Come on, lads!" But unless the lads actually do come on, it means nothing. It means nothing. That's my opinion on De Gea being captain. I've never seen him do something on the field that has instantly made our back four play better. I've seen him pointing his fingers. I've seen him yelling. I've seen him getting mad after goals. But that's not leadership. It becomes leadership when people actually start following you. That's what a leader does.
But I
People
feel like
follow.
the argument, which is the better of the two evils, because I just don't see Maguire doing that as well.
Neither.
Yeah,
There is no better of two evils for me, if you're asking me. But, that's just my opinion. Our club is shite. But it's an interesting topic, and get down in the comments down below, give your opinion. I suppose it comes down to opinion, because there's no such thing as a one size fits all type of thing in leadership.
Yeah.
There's no book on how to be the right leader. So yeah, look, I think he should play youth, but the problem the fear that I have if he goes with a full weak team is that we should beat Tranmere, but I don't want to lose to them. Not in the FA Cup. But yeah, it would be nice to see some youth. I'd like to see Angel Gomez playing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like, if there's any game you're gonna play him, like, use him now. Use him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But the one thing I will say about the Tranmere game is that it's going to be. I think it's going to be a dog game, because that field, I think, is so butchered. It's really like, I know people might think it's a small thing, but that field is horrible. It's going to be horrible. They're going to be physical. But I would play youth. Our
The
squad
ball's not gonna
definitely
roll
needs
from
to rest as well. But
Yeah.
I would play youth. But I think it'll be very tough for the youth as well.
Yeah.
I think, actually, I retract what I said. I think he kind of, I don't know. I don't want to use the word has to, but I think he has to play youth, because, like, you're right. Our squad needs to rest.
So,
I just,
To be honest,
I don't know. Resting
knowing
a team in a
what
cup.
they're gonna say, she probably won't. We're gonna go with he'll play Chong here and there. He probably won't play Gomez, because he seems to have an agenda against Gomez. But he'll probably play a pretty strong squad. And I don't know what's wrong with Oli. I honestly don't, because our team needs rest. And if there's any game this whole season we can rest our players, it's gonna be this one.
yeah.
And like,
I
these are the type of games you can experiment in. Like, play a different formation, see how it works. He won't do that. He's gonna go with the same thing again, because he's scared for his job.
But I hope he doesn't experiment, though, because I actually want to win the FA Cup. Like, I can't stand a dry season and a terrible position on the log.
I don't know.
So I'm okay with him not experimenting and just playing this one properly, because if he experiments and then we lose to Tranmere, I won't forgive him. I won't. I'm putting it out there. If he experimented against Burnley and he lost, that's different. That's fine.
Fair, but like, to be honest, I'm not worried about the trophy. I just want change, and I think change has to start somewhere.
I think I'm more on the side of Moloto as well. Like, if we had to go 4-3-3 attacking and you went all out and somehow lost, I'll be like, you know what? It's whatever. He tried. At least I see something different.
I can't. I want him to try these sorts of things in a league, in a trophy that doesn't matter, that we're not going to win anyways. The league, we're not going to get top four, so experiment there. Don't experiment in something that we can genuinely win. That's my stance on it. I don't understand why, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, why in your right mind you wouldn't take the trophy, the one trophy that's almost on a silver platter for you. It's still a long way to go, but almost. Step by step, just win it game by game.
And just for this fixture, I was having a very hard time trying to predict an 11 and thinking whether he will change or whether he's not going to change. So yeah, I just had a very tough time making this predicted 11.
All right, you gonna bring it up?
Yeah, let me bring it up. But like I said, I had a tough time. He said he didn't want to change. He believes in his system, so I didn't really change much. I think the players he's gonna play will be very interesting, and I don't know. Let's see what you guys think about it as well.
Well, I don't know if Bailey's fit yet. I've been wanting to say this for the last 3 podcasts. Every time I've seen Bailey there, I've been wanting to say it, but then I was like, you know what? Maybe he'll play this weekend. I
I
don't
think
see
he will
Bailey
play
playing.
this weekend because Ollie said in his conference that this pitch is very hard and it's not suited for the modern player. But he's been training in the other, and like with the under 23s, I think it is, and he's
Yeah.
been trying to get his fitness up. So I think I from what I heard from Ollie, I think that he was kind of hinting that Bai would probably play in a game like this. Very physical, pitch is not right.
Okay.
Bai is strong, he's physical. So I think, and it's an FA Cup game. Maybe rest Lindelof. You need to rest someone. And if he's on the bench
Lindelof
for the
didn't play
last two
midweek, though.
games,
But yeah.
but I think but Lindelof didn't play because he was also 6. I don't know if he's going to be back, but yeah, I think if I see Bai in this game, I'd be pretty happy.
Rest Maguire, for fuck's sakes. Sorry for swearing, but rest Maguire. Forget Lindelof. He didn't play midweek.
Yeah, honestly, I'd probably give it a little this guy, Rest Maguire. I don't think he will. I don't think he trusts Jones and
Yeah,
Bailly.
I don't think he would as well.
I think that back line is probably going to be spot on. I think Shaw needs to play because he hasn't been getting game time. Dallas just came back. Bailly just came back. Maguire is trusted even if he's not on top form, so he'll play. I think Mata will definitely play. I think this is the game that suits him. I don't know if Martial will play on the wing. I think we all think this is what he should do, but he probably won't do it.
Speak for yourself. Possibly. You never know with Ollie.
And then I put Ghana there, but because he did earlier in the season, Ghana used to play, but now I just there's part of me that's saying he's going to play a Matic or Fred because he's very scared and he doesn't want to lose another game.
I think he might play someone like Tahith Chong because he seems to like experimenting with Chong.
Yeah, I think Ghana, Chong, and Gomez should all play in this game. To be honest.
I think he'll play James on the left, play Chong on the right, play Greenwood in the middle, keep Martial on the bench, and bring Martial on as a super sub in case things go wrong. That's what I think he'll do.
It's possible.
Because he likes playing Chong in these kinds of games. And then for the middle of the park, you know what, mate? Like this guy, fuck, dude. If Maguire doesn't play and Martial don't play, then you can bet Matic or Fred is going to play because he needs someone in there that he can trust. Yeah. Personally, I think Lindelof should play next to Bailey because Lindelof did rest midweek and Maguire didn't. But he probably will play Maguire anyways, and Maguire's probably going to get injured soon because of that.
And like I said, that pitch is not forgiving. It's like you're playing in a minefield. Sand, dirt, mud, holes. It's just very bad.
Yeah. I think Ghana, Matic, and Gomez would be the best 3 to play in that midfield.
I wouldn't mind that midfield personally.
I mean, I guess because there's no one else besides Matic. I guess that's where we come as a club, where Matic is the guy now to solidify things. Matic is the guy to make the midfield look a little bit prettier. Can't believe it. No disrespect to Matic, yeah. I don't know if there's anything more to say about this team,
But like I said, he said he doesn't want to change the system. I would have liked him to maybe tweak something. I know Marcus really said he doesn't want to really take chances and experimenting, but I would have liked to see a 4-3-3 attacking somehow. Or not even just a 4-3-3 attacking, just change something. If you're gonna go 4-4-2 somehow and make it work, try something. I wouldn't be mad.
Like, I don't trust United, but what God says, I don't see how we can lose this game.
Tranmere.
I feel like this might just be the emotions and the history in our last form. But I feel like we could lose this game. I feel like it's away from home. Heads are dropped. Ollie's very scared. The pitch is not in our favor. Squad depth isn't in our favor. I feel like it could be one of those games that somehow we let it slip.
If we play a decent team and lose this game, and it'd be the 3rd game we lose in a row, I can't see how the board can't be considering a sacking, honestly.
Oh, they already are. By the way, the board. Yes, this is something I forgot to talk about. You bring up the board. They've come out again and said that they back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I don't mean it means anything, for all the people who are getting excited. We've heard this all before.
Yeah.
We've heard it all before. We've heard it all before. We're behind the manager. We believe in his plan. We're backing him. Blah 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 blah. We've heard this all before. Not just at Manchester United. There's so many articles out there of how
Yeah.
the manager's being backed, and then next week Tuesday sacked. So
You know,
it doesn't mean anything to me.
Unless
the
about that
way
is
the way I
releasing
seen that statement is what I think they meant by back is give him till the end of the season, and then I think he'll be gone, and I think Poch will come. That's how I perceive it. I think what they meant by back is just give him to the end of the season, because I think the whole thing with Poch is like, I'm not gonna come in now midway through a season and disaster. I want my terms and stuff like that. So I personally, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like
Yeah, but I
unless
feel
a
like
miracle is done,
say
he's
it like
gone.
that. Say something like we're discussing, we're working on fixing the problem. Because when you say things like that, you anger the fan base unnecessarily. So they just don't care about us, honestly. That's what pisses most
Well,
of us off most. They just don't care.
they don't. But with a statement like this, I don't think everyone should read that much into it, to be honest. Like, we can all sit here and speculate, which is what we love to do as football fans. But with this specifically, this is not even an issue at Manchester United. You can look at any club and any manager who's been sacked and look at what the club says before that. 90% of the time, I guarantee you, clubs have come out and said, we're backing this manager. And then a few hours later, he's sacked. We've seen it before. So
We
to
have
me,
done it.
this is just another lie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've done
sure, Woodward
every
and the
manager bar
Glazers.
Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, so
What I
I
would say
don't.
is though, and I
Mhm.
heard this from Mark Goldbridge, the United stand, that he came out with a statement saying that every time we had three managers, Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, and every time we sacked them, we had to pay a certain fee, 5 million to Moyes. I think I don't know how much it was from Van Gaal, and then like 17 million to Mourinho or something. Overall, it came to like 34 million to sack those three managers. And then I was just wondering, like maybe that's also another reason why they won't sack Oli now, is because they don't want to pay out yet. Maybe run it down. Maybe the fee goes less. And you know how the sport is. They can
This
save if they can
board,
save
oh
any
my god.
penny, they'll try to do it.
The way they look
Yeah.
at things is so amateurish, honestly. Oh, we're not going to spend money because it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Like, oh my god. Like, it's hilarious.
Yeah, and also the stories coming out now of United is trying to make it look like Sporting Lisbon are the evil ones in the Bruno Fernandes deal, by the way. I wasn't going to bring this up, but it's popped into my head now that we're talking about this board. They're trying to make it seem like Sporting Lisbon are the one who is setting a ridiculously high transfer fee, and we all know that's not true. Well, at least those of us with a brain know that it's not true, because Bruno Fernandes is a good player. So whether you like it or not, for players like Bruno Fernandes in the modern game of football in January, you're going to have to overpay. In fact, you're lucky to get a player for Bruno Fernandes for less than 80 to 100 mil, in my opinion. You're
In my
lucky. You're
opinion,
lucky a
also.
club doesn't set those
Plus,
demands.
if they paid so much for Fred as well, you're telling me that Bruno is not worth more, even 5 million more. You're telling me he's not even
He's
worth
worth
5 million.
way
Exactly.
more.
He's
Like
worth
I
way
wouldn't be
more.
mad if Sporting said we want 90 million for Bruno Fernandes,
I don't
and
blame Sporting.
I'm not even laughing with a
And
straight
if
face.
this,
I
I don't
wouldn't
blame
be mad at
Sporting. And
him.
if this deal doesn't go across the line, it's all on United.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
but I think specifically with regards to the statement they released this morning, like I don't want to read too much into it. I think it's a waste of energy. I've seen it all before, and this guy, you know what? Even if I think if his only hope of keeping his job beyond the summer is winning the FA Cup, if he doesn't win a trophy, and the things only get worse in the league, which they probably will with our lack of squad depth, especially if we don't sign anyone, he's done. Whether that's in the summer or before then, he's done. Either way.
To be
And
honest,
I
I don't know if
think
the FA Cup.
someone like Poch is definitely coming in.
Yeah. I don't know if the FA Cup would be enough. I don't think. As much as I hate this club, they're not as delusional as we all say. I feel like the FA Cup doesn't do much for us. It doesn't. Like, you're back in the Europa League, hooray! But going forward, maybe if they are as bad as they are, as we think they are, maybe they'll think that it's paper in the cracks and it looks pretty. But bar that, I feel it's down to the Europa League or top four. And if it gets none of that,
I don't think so, because I think the expectations of this club have been lowered by the board. And if you want proof for that, look at why each manager got fired in chronological order. Okay, so Moyes was the exception. He got fired because, he made a lot of signings and then he was just shit. Okay, so Moyes got fired.
And at that time, United were like, no ways. If we don't win like a treble, so it's disappointing.
Van Gaal came in made top four more consistently than any other manager we've had since then. Won the FA Cup, got sacked. Fine, okay, whatever. Mourinho came in, won a continental trophy. Yes, it's not the Champions League, but he won a continental trophy and the Carabao Cup. He got fired. So every time with every manager, the standards are lowering,
Yeah.
Ole Gunnar
Yeah.
Solskjaer's had the worst start to a Manchester United season in nearly 30 years. He's still in a job. So, if you ask me, I think the standards are being lowered by this football club, and they don't care too much about what's happening on the pitch as long as it helps them meet the bottom line, and that's the revenue. And so if he does win the FA Cup and they're able to spin that into a positive, I think there's less incentive for them to actually give the Pochettino or any manager of Pochettino's level the demands that they want. And I think the evidence of that is something like the Bruno Fernandes deal. Like, if this board had any interest in saving the football of this club, they would sign Bruno Fernandes. Yet they're not. And they're finding a way to spin it and make it seem positive. Yet again, they didn't spend money in the summer in the positions that we actually needed. Instead, they just bought 3 signings, which really, what has they done? Besides Aaron Wan-Bissaka, what has they done? So if you ask me, like, I don't think these guys are complete idiots and complete airheads and complete knuckleheads like everybody else. I'll call them that out of anger. But I am starting to believe that their goal ultimately is to lower the expectations of the fan base and the club and maintain a certain level of revenue. That's the bottom line. Whatever happens on the pitch, as long as it helps them meet that revenue, that's all they care about. And if we win the FA Cup and we stay somewhat competitive and we stay somewhat decent, I don't see any reason for them to come in and be like, okay, Poch, here's 400 million. We're sorry. Come fix our club. I don't see them doing that. If they can be like, well, it's all about the future, they'd rather play the future card.
Yeah,
and
they probably do think like that, and that's flipping scary.
Yeah, the only way that changes for me is if Ollie doesn't win any trophies and he goes on a bit of a losing streak, which is very possible, especially if he doesn't clinch the FA Cup. It's very possible because he's out of the Carabao Cup. Probably not going to win the Europa League now because of the lack of squad depth. He doesn't have the squad to compete in Europe, in my opinion, and in the Premier League. There's no depth. So he's going to have to pick one or the other. And if he picks the Europa League, he could still lose there. So, like, this is a gift. This is a gift. This is like one of the easiest fixtures you could have gotten this round. This is a gift. It's the easiest team you could have played to get into the next round. Why not just secure this game? I don't know why Oli wouldn't do that. And if he loses this one, dude, he can still sack himself. So
yeah,
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's all a long shot. I don't see us winning the FA Cup. I feel there's too much competition. Man City want to win trophies because the league is gone, and Liverpool won the treble. And I think it's probably going to go to one of those teams.
Yeah, you got to look at it step by step, though. You got to look at it step by step. Football can change very quickly. So you've got to take it game by game. United, will they win the FA Cup? It doesn't look likely with the way that we're playing at the moment. But we beat Wolves. We've got an easy fixture here. We win this fixture convincingly. We might get a nice draw in the next round. And all of a sudden, the FA Cup looks possible. That's all I'm saying. Get drawn up against the City, then we're back to square one. We're not winning this trophy again. That's what the Carabao Cup was like. We kept getting easy rounds and we were nearly there. If we got matched up against someone else other than City in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup, we might have had a different story, So as long as we don't get a City or a team, I think Chelsea's out. But a team like I'm not sure if Chelsea's out. Did we beat them in the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup last year?
I think Carabao Cup.
Okay,
I'm not sure. I think it was Carabao Cup though.
Yeah, but anyways, my point is you got to take it game by game. And on paper, realistically, I don't see us winning any other trophy besides the FA Cup. Whether you think the FA Cup's possible or not, it's the, I guess, lesser of the 3 devils or the easier. I don't know what the right saying is for that. It's the most likely one we're going to win. Yeah. Like, we're not going to get top 4 with our lack of squad depth. We're not going to win the Europa League with our lack of squad depth unless we put everything into the Europa League and neglect everything else. And we could still lose anyways because Inter Milan might be our next opponent in the rounds to come. So, the FA Cup makes sense for me. So, that's just my 2 cents on it. What I will say is that it is tough times. What I will say about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is that if you're Ole in, the only argument you have at the moment is that he hasn't been properly backed. That's literally the only argument. And that's a statement of fact. It's not it's not something that's completely wrong. Whether you think Ollie's good enough for the job, he hasn't been completely backed yet. And that's unfortunate. That's the unfortunate reality of every manager who's come to this club. And I think the best thing for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going forward is for him to figure something out and figure something out quickly before those clowns backstab him, because they will do it eventually if they don't see a reason to keep him around.
Yeah.
That's what the Glazers do. When they don't need you anymore, they get you out. They're using Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as a shield. And if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can remain a positive shield, there's no reason to get rid of him. As soon as he loses that, then you can get rid of him. As soon as he starts losing games that he shouldn't be losing, and everyone's like, you're just lying, mate. There's no positive here. You lost to Liverpool, you lost to Burnley, and now you're out of the FA Cup. What is the positive? Then he's gone. That's just my opinion. He has no leverage. Yeah. But anyways, get down in the comments down below if this is a topic that intrigues you. Do leave a like on the video. Please do subscribe. And I think that's a wrap.
Score prediction, yeah.
Score prediction, sorry. I forgot about that. What are you guys going with?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Don't jinx it.
Come on, Ole. Ole, like this.
If you beat Norwich 4-0, you can beat this team.
My last little bit of hope I'm giving to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This should be in the bag. How? I can't even fathom. Usually I can fathom how we can lose because we're not as good or we're lacking here. But we're good. We should be good enough to beat this team.
We're playing a pub team.
Any day. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 win.
2-0.
Safe.
Now, I don't want to sound like the devil or anything. I don't want to sound like I don't support United. I obviously want them to win. But, there's this part of me that's like, headed down. Nolly's just running around for his life. Fans are not up for it, really. I feel like we're going to lose. I feel like we're going to bottle it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how he's going to do it because it's like, with all due respect, it's Tranmere.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's going to bottle it.
Tranmere
every time I say...
but
for me, every time I say we bottle it, we go and win. So, hopefully that works. So, Tranmere to win 2-1. Go on, United.
Oh,
go.
My God. Tranmere remind me of a team in the Europa League. We started playing position football in the second half. I forgot what it was. And we broke them down because even if they pock up us, they just won't be good enough to keep us out. As bad as we are.
Yeah.
It was astounding.
But, realistically, I think United should definitely win 2-0. I'm with Maluto. Realistically, United should win 2-0.
Even with our weakest squad, we should beat this team because none of their players get into a combined XI with our weakest team.
Exactly.
Facts. So, I don't know. I will end off the show on this, though. Personally, I have never said it because I've never believed that sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will do anything, and I still don't believe it's going to do anything unless the person who comes in has the right contract and the right demands and the right level of support. I don't believe in holding grudges. So, as much as I hate the Glazers and I hate Woodward, I won't be singing any songs about them burning in bonfires because I don't condone violence. And if they actually showed interest and some level of ambition in improving this club and going in the right direction, I will lift up my hand and say, hey, I was wrong. There is something here. But at the moment, I can't see it. And if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer loses to Tranmere, I don't know what to say anymore because the Burnley loss for me was unforgivable. We haven't lost to Burnley at home before that result for 58 years. And this smiling Pratt bottled it. He couldn't create anything in 45 minutes of football against a team that we haven't lost to at home in 58 years. A team that we should be beating comfortably at home. We beat them away from home, so there's no excuse. And he found a way to bottle it. And for me, that's on him because the team just wasn't creating chances. And if he loses to Tranmere, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's more than unforgivable. It's unbelievable at that point. It's just like, is this real? Am I dreaming? Is this a nightmare? I've got to pinch myself if we lose to Tranmere just to make sure that this is not some big dream. But anyways, please do leave a like on the video. And as I said, please do subscribe. I think that about wraps it up. Only, please, please win this game.
Hey, we don't learn.
Please, no, but we've beaten every pub team this season. We haven't lost to a pub team, and we beat the worst team in the Premier League, and that's Norwich. So twice, by the way. So, like, there's no excuses here. There's no excuses. Even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should win this game. Peace out.